Call to order the village board meeting at the Lisbon Village Hall on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024 at 6:33 PM. Roll call, please.
President Osterman,
Here.
trustee Flotecker,
Here.
trustee Noonan,
Here.
trustee Quinn,
Here.
trustee Beal,
Here.
administrator Nicholas,
Here.
and clerk Capazzo Catch to record the minutes.
We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 is comments from citizen present. Agenda item, anyone, just Linda on Zoom.
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak during citizen comment, please use the raise hand function. No hands raised on Zoom.
All right, item 4 is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a village board member requests that an item be removed for separate consideration. We have the October 9th, 2024 village board minutes, the November 6th, 2024 budget public hearing minutes, the November 6th, 2024 village board minutes. We have the staff recommendation to approve covenants for October Field subdivision. We have the October Fields line of credit reduction of $1,589,437.10 for a new balance of $606,562.90. We have the developers agreement with Hartford Land Development for Lake 5 Farms. We have the engineer's recommended letter of credit for Lake 5 Farms in the amount of $3,510,707.52. We have approving the filing of the CMOM for utility district. We have the Dorner quote to replace Janine lift station pump number 1 for $6,774 plus installation. And J is the resolution 2024-08 to approve the 2025 Lake Country Municipal Court budget. Said it right, and then I went back. Does anyone wish to have anything removed for separate consideration? Or is it?
I do have a question, Joe. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. The CMOM is usually filed in June. Is this because it's being filed now because the
Linda,
village is taking over?
We got to make a motion real quick just before we have discussion though. Hang on.
I'm sorry.
Let's make a motion to pull H and J.
Okay, so the motion to pull the CMOM and J from the consent agenda. So is there a motion on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I?
No.
I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second it.
Mark seconds. All right, we are voting on everything except for H and J right now, Linda, okay? So we're not voting on the CMOM yet, and we're not voting on the resolution 2024-08. But everything else we're voting on. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, item H, approve the filing of the CMOM for utility district. Now you got a question, Linda?
Yes, normally this is filed in June. Why is it being filed now? Is it because the village is taking over?
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. That's it.
Any other questions on H?
Nope.
All right, and then item J is the resolution 2024-08 to approve the 2025 Lake Country Municipal Court budget.
I pulled this one just because it's a large thing, but the resolution.
The resolution was updated yesterday at the request of the court, so the corrected dollar amount is in the resolution.
On the revenues or expenditures?
Just a moment. I don't remember which number changed, but there should be like a $3,000 surplus at the end of the year.
Yeah. So the revenues are $4,006 and $460,326.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, the original resolution that we received from the court had both numbers missing. So that was the update that was made yesterday at their request.
Yeah, I was questioning too. I didn't see where the surplus got put back into the budget for 2025. I know this isn't our budget, it's the court's budget, but it, I mean, is there a way to see where that surplus is going? Because I thought if there's a surplus, it gets returned back to the communities.
I'll check on. And give you a.
Any other questions on Dear H?
Cause I mean, just looking back, their actuals, I believe this would be an audited number. The surplus in 23 was 54,000. And if you look at their budget, I know things go up, but you know, their budget from 23 to 24 went up substantially. And then it also went up again for the 25, but I guess I'd like to know where these surpluses are going. How can we have, how can we keep having a substantial increase while we're getting a surplus year after year? So. Yeah. Is this, do they have a final hearing on this as a collective? Like country board?
They have a meeting and all the municipalities go over.
So if we don't pass or adopt this tonight, does that delay their meeting?
They'll keep working as.
No, I understand. I hate to postpone something when they could probably do a better job of explaining it in their memo.
You're asking to postpone it till January?
I mean, I know we're only one of 14 communities, so I don't think it's necessary, but I guess I'd like somebody from the court to explain that because they do in their memo, they do outline that they had a surplus, but they never tell you where it went. So I think an explanation of that would be appropriate.
Okay. Anything else on it?
Nope.
So we have H and J then, we could take them separate or together, however anyone would like. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the filing of a CMOM for utility district.
I'll second. Any discussion? We're voting on item H. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And then item J, resolution 2024-08.
I'll make a motion to approve 24-08 to approve the 2025 Lake Country Municipal Court budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I second.
Paula got it. All right, any other questions on H and J? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, accounts payable, authorizing the payment of the Falls Auto Parts bill dated 11/27 for $180.05 and 12/6 for $51.36. Any questions or is there a motion on item A?
I'll make a motion. We authorize payment of the Falls Auto Part bills dated 11/27 and 12/6.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
And Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item B, authorizing payment of the remaining bills dated 11/27 for $556,037.06 and 12/6 for $102,219.83.
Expense. $135,000. $115,285 for one. $87,046.49 to US Bank Corp. $71,147.49 to Waukesha County Treasurer. $40,452.26 for materials. $46,846 for rural legal. $27,087.29 for guaranteed protection. $11,072.50 to comfort engineering. $6,316.12 to energies, and $2,459.22 to bond product. Security and. That's the.
Any questions for Kathy? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize payment of the bills dated 11/27 and 12/6 as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Look at this one, Linda.
Sorry.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C, authorizing the payment of utility district bills dated 11/30 for $22,658.25.
We have $6,482 in comfortable engineering. $2,670.72 to tax management. $13,308.95 to Village of Sussex. And then we entered these for $250.08. I ask for your approval.
I'll make a motion to approve utility bills as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Becky, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, announcements and correspondence. We have the Public Works and Utility Committee meeting on Wednesday, the 18th at 5 PM at the Village Hall. We have the next Plan Commission meeting Wednesday, the 25th, which has been canceled. We didn't want to be here on Christmas. All non-emergency village departments will be closed December 24th, 25th, and December 31st and January 1st. The Parks Committee meeting, next one is on January 8th at 5 PM at the Village Hall. And the next village board meeting will be January 8th, also at 6:30 PM here at the Village Hall. Does anyone else have any other announcements or correspondence? Item 7 is Kathy's final administrator report.
So, I'm not sure if I covered some of these in the last one, but the new server has been installed here at Village Hall. All the newer desktops from the fire department have been on our old units in the other departments. We changed all the locks in the community room. I wrote letters after the last meeting to the 3 paramedics that still owed us for their classes, and gave them a paid off number. All 3 of them paid off. I wrote a letter to Richmond School to get an update on their progress in finding out where their I&I was. We found out that in Richard Young, 2 toilets were broken and running, so we might have seen some I&I through the fire department. DPW is working on water heater leaks with a plumber. So, the card readers in both stations have been installed, and we have been billed for that. We have 1 bad garage door at the Good Hope Fire Station. It's, we're still getting prices on getting that fixed. We've offered, the DPW open position to 2 people, both turned it down due to pay. We will continue looking for someone with the CDM. Currently, we do have 2 part-time snowblowers, so they're not in need for roads. They're not gonna be short for roads at this point. DPW's been working on trees in parks and right of way, well, since we haven't had a lot of snow. Utility billing was passed along to Natasha after training was this week. I've been working on the code. Code will not be done before I leave, but I will get the correction drafts back to the codifier again. And we'll work with Dan on what the next steps are. I think that's all I've got for you.
Thank you. Item 8, unfinished business. Status update discussion necessary action regarding the OPIT's progress towards compliance. The order issued on 9/22 for LSBT 0193.139.
In fact, you have the information, just to remind you on what was in the Opus, on the Opus property, the gentleman came to deal at the last meeting, gave him a 30-day, and he was supposed to be here to give you an update. Our building inspector did go out and take a look, and he did not find that, he made any, or maybe some little, progress since his last visit.
And so the board is aware, I did speak with Mr. Opitz yesterday, and he was aware that he was supposed to be here tonight. When we had that conversation, he said he was planning on attending. I'm unsure why he wasn't.
So we just need action if we're going to move this along to give him more time, or if the board does not decide to give an extension for the Opus, then it'll go through the regular process of citation.
I've been watching this because I personally drive that way every day. I mean, I did see the homeowner out there as late as, I think it was Sunday, the last time I saw him out there. And he was working with another gentleman moving stuff in the front yard, so. I have seen movement over the, course of this time. The house is set back a little ways from the road, and it's more towards the back of the property. So it's kind of hard to see anything behind it or on one side of it. Yeah, I like that he was able to, did he give any kind of, any explanation of the status to you?
He said that he has been working on it, and that he would email me some pictures before noon today. I have not received any emails.
I don't, I mean, I think the biggest thing in this is, yeah, it's easy to turn to a fine, but at the end of the day, it's all about, I'm sure it was a neighbor that initiated the complaint, and if there any progress is happening, I still like to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're gonna continue to show progress. Obviously, this time it's not at what our request was for time, but I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be looking to issue a ticket. But unfortunately, he's not here and he hasn't communicated to the board any kind of request for extension.
Well, I think last time he was here, he said he really thought he could do it within 60 days, and the board decided only to give him 30 days.
Something must have came up that he didn't show up, I'm assuming. I don't know.
Yeah, you know,
I'd give,
another 30 days to the next meeting.
I would give him another 30 days personally.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Somebody want to?
I'd agree with that too, Joe.
Excellent. Somebody want to put that in the form of a motion?
Bring this to the January meeting date, or are we doing 30 days?
I would say, I'll make a motion in line with there's your thinking. I'll make a motion to ask the property owner for a compliance progress report on the next board meeting, which will be January 8th, 2025.
Correct.
And request his physical presence before the board.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Paula. Any other discussion? Favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Right. New business, A, discussion necessary action regarding Newman Company's request to consider an out of cycle comprehensive land use plan amendment.
So, on that, maybe we had a conflict with another meeting. So, I'm gonna, you've got his, memo in front of you. He has, he had met with, the, human development, human something to, in July. At a planner appointment, and we discussed at that time that they were gonna need a comprehensive development plan. And, they would have to meet that by September 15th deadline. And, in the staff report, it explains why the September 15th date is on there as we go through the process and of changing our comprehensive plan. So the petitioner is requesting a determination from the village board if their comprehensive plan amendment application may be out of cycle. And staff line petitioner has not provided substantial justification. Village board, without showing substantial justification under the law, have to deny the request. So the petitioner is here to discuss.
Thank you. Yeah, good evening. So I'm Brian Lindgren with Newman Developments. Not a stranger here. You all look familiar, and hopefully I look familiar to you. I've been here many times. Many times also in regards to this particular comprehensive plan amendment, as well as the concept plan. And the only very, very, very important thing I want to amend to what Kathy said is Oren's message about the 15th came after we submitted our application. I've got that in email that it never came up before that. But that regardless,
When did you, what was the date you submitted it?
I believe it was like October 7th or something. It's me even saying here. So it was in October. So. And I guess my reasoning for being here is that is kind of irrelevant. You know, over the many years that I've been coming here to Lisbon and the many years that I've been doing similar work in other municipalities, a small paragraph buried deep in a large document that states that a comprehensive plan amendment may or may not move forward based on a arbitrary date is new to me. It doesn't exist to my knowledge anywhere else. I can't understand why it's
It
there.
does. I will tell you it does, because I
Yeah.
ran into this in Sussex,
In Sussex.
Yeah.
If they did, they got rid of it a long time ago because they don't.
2019.
I'm going there in the next month to go through a land use and comprehensive plan amendment. So if it is, they don't follow it. And the only other one I can think of is Waukesha County. And I'd be happy to bring Dale Shaver in as well, and he'll tell you firsthand that that's a preference, not a rule of law. So I guess, you know, the request here is just keep doing things the way Lisbon's been doing. An application comes in, it gets, you know, moved ahead to the necessary meetings. It doesn't create any sort of burden. It happens at regular meetings, not special meetings. And it doesn't, you know, I don't understand the reason for delaying on this. You know, it's a disservice to landowners in the village of Lisbon. You know, to somebody who wants to sell their property, then to a developer like myself or any of the other ones that are doing work in Lisbon, that they really can't move anything forward if it requires a comprehensive plan, but once a year. I mean, that's not doing anybody any good. You know, if anything is a burden or a hardship to the village is to stack them all up at once, so you have multiple public hearings all on the same night. Now, that seems more tedious than spreading them out across the entire year. So. I guess that's what I'm here for, is to say, you know, we've done it. I can tell you in the past, Hillside Ridge, our application did not come in on September 15th. It came in at a completely different time of the year and was moved forward. We've been talking about Alpine Hills for years. I've been in here talking about the concept. I've met with Mr. Macy and Oren and everybody else on staff multiple times about that concept, and not once did the September 15th date come up. And it only came up after we submitted our application. It's not on the application form. It's nowhere else. We would have had no issues bringing it in earlier if it was ever brought to our attention.
Brian, as a point of clarification,
Hmm.
it was brought up in July at the pre-application planning meeting when you guys were sitting in here with.
Is that on any notes or anything? Because I certainly don't remember anything about that.
One of many emails that have been exchanged over the last 2 months.
Okay.
But it was pointed out in one of those emails.
I mean, if
Again,
we want to play, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
And
There
say-
it is in writing. So,
oh, that paragraph is from your comprehensive plan. That's
which is
correct.
writing.
Which is in writing.
Which is
I
in
didn't
writing.
deny it wasn't in writing.
I
It's
just,
it's a
you know,
paragraph buried in a comprehensive plan.
I
I'm
seen
here
where
to
you were
ask-
going with asking if it was.
Yeah,
if it
I'm
was
asking
writing
why.
anywhere,
I mean, why?
because it is. But you're here to ask for
It's
an
in
amendment.
there
on it.
because it is? I mean, I know
If
it's
this is
there.
in our
What's the reason?
code, if this
Yeah.
is in our code, it's how we operate.
Okay,
We've operated like this for many years.
I disagree.
So you disagree we don't operate like this?
Yeah,
How do you disagree we don't operate like this? When have we done different?
because I've other comprehensive
want
plans
us to
that
do
moved out of
different.
cycle.
But you want to,
Because our Hillside Ridge did not come in on this deadline. It happened, I think, in maybe June or July of 2019.
when we
You
asked, for
What do you mean when I asked first?
you were ahead of the deadline for that year. At that point, correct? And when did
But it
that
wasn't
happen?
held, it was moved forward. It wasn't held to September and then moved forward.
When is our actual, when we go through it
So to
in September?
go through it in September, we get it to, we have to get everything to the county by November.
Well, that's when,
'Cause when we were
that's
with the
when you were
county-
a town.
When we
and
were
they
in the
had- yeah.
county,
We have not changed our.
Yeah.
contract.
I mean, they held us to time frame. The county literally held us to time frames. So I mean, it was
Mhm.
definitely back then, it would have been on the actual schedule.
We have not changed our comprehensive plan for the village.
Right, it's out of date, that's true.
Mhm.
But.
Yeah.
That's where, Mr. Macy, in discussion, made the comment that it's in our code, we have to follow our code. So it says if they can't give us substantial justification.
Well, what is substantial justification?
We have
Of why you didn't get it in.
I think.
I guess this would be something we maybe have to get
I
the
guess
attorney to review.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to ask the village board, what is the reason not to move it forward?
I think the attorney was
Yeah.
just explained. I guess I'd want to hear from our attorney then to make sure. I mean, if you don't like the code, we gotta change the code.
I
there's-
recommend it.
Right, but it hasn't been changed. You see what I mean? If there's a
Right.
law that says you have to go 45 miles an hour and you don't think it's right. It's, and you could be 100% right, but you gotta change the code. You can't just ignore it. That's what Macy is saying.
And this allows you to do it how you wish, and that's what I'm here to
This
ask
says under
for.
with substantial,
justification.
At, at your discretion, right? I mean, what is substantial justification?
Like,
Yeah.
in the rare event out of cycle, approval must first be granted by the town board and only when substantial justification is made by the applicant.
how's the rest of the board feel?
What is substantial justification? I'm just
Yeah.
wondering where that bar is.
Come up and add to this, please.
Good evening. I'm Brian Randall, attorney with Amundsen Davis, 111 East Kilbourne Avenue, here with Brian. My Brian is with an I, he's with a Y. And it's good to be back here. It's been a few years. I think last time I was at the fire station talking about cell towers, or at least towers that didn't even have any equipment on it. My landlord client was hoping they would get rid of it. Don't even know how that ultimately happened, but that's the last time I was at the town, I bet. Now it's the village. Real quick, if I could just address a couple of things. Brian is right. I mean, it's one paragraph in your comprehensive plan from 2009. Where's my yellow tab, which has Exhibit E. So it's not even in the plan, but it's Exhibit E to the plan, and that's where that little paragraph came out of. So 2009, I'm a lawyer, I don't like to do math, but we're talking 15 years ago, the plan, when it was a town, I think, without speaking for Mr. Macy, because I'm smarter than that to not try that. But perhaps a rule like that is because it's a town and because there aren't a lot of land use things going on, and it would make sense to have your consultant planner, your outside attorney focus on these kinds of things maybe once a year. That's my speculation for why that rule is there. But now we're a village. Now there are other opportunities in front of you. And clearly the rule, and I'm going to call it a rule because it's not in your code. This is the comprehensive plan that was adopted by ordinance, and it's exhibit E to the plan, but it's not actually in your zoning code, your codified ordinances. So it is part of the comprehensive plan, which is a creature of state law. That's all true, but it's not really a code. So it's a rule, but it clearly allows you to deviate from that rule. And the reason for that would be you may have a great development in front of you. We think this one is, but irrespective of, let's just call it this general thing. Your hands would be tied if you don't have the ability to deviate if that is the usual practice. And so I think that's why it's written this way. Maybe we could all come up with 15 years later a better way
So
to
let me
phrase
just
it.
hold you up a second.
Sure.
So why not just ask us to change what I'm still gonna call the code, and then come back and ask for the plan change? Because you're not gonna give me substantial justification, I think you know that. And you don't need this in 10 minutes, so why don't we just ask for a code change and we change the rule then, if that's what the board wishes, and then come back and ask for the comprehensive land use plan change?
I think that could be
I think that would have
possible.
been a great thing to move forward. I mean,
Right, there might be a hearing required with that. I don't know the
Mhm.
sequence on that. I guess the question, maybe the first question I have before that though is the next cycle, is it in January? Can we, are we really talking with
it's in
splitting hairs?
September.
What's that?
September is what it sounds like.
So the village routinely waits all that time, because I was finding your resolutions online from May and I think some March actions on comp plan amendments. So it seems like in the past you have taken some out of cycle.
And were they may have been for the purpose of part of corporation. So we did do some amendments during.
Yeah, the 2021, 14 and 16, was that about the time of incorporation? Those were in May. And then 2021, number 10 was for March. That was in March. Okay, so that's why those would be outliers versus a couple others are, a couple others were approved ultimately in January. Because I guess that would make sense. If you wait until September to process them, then there's public hearings in January. So our request, or at least where we're kind of just looking at the obvious, here we are in December, we'd like to get on track in January. I would suggest our justification is a mistake. Perhaps we missed the advice or the direction from staff about Exhibit E and the September 15th deadline. Perhaps it was a mistake by staff that it wasn't clearly communicated. But we're not saying it doesn't exist. It's just the comp plan page on the village website has about 20 hyperlinks, and you gotta know to look for Exhibit E. And there it is. It is in writing. But our justification is that it would be a hardship to have to wait 9 months for just a rule to be followed. So if there's a way to either amend the rule or that we've met the burden to proceed, and all we're asking to do is, by the way, proceed. There still is a public hearing. There still is the opportunity for public comment. Notices will be sent out. So this isn't pulling a fast one on it. Brian, do you have anything else to add? I know he and I have been talking about this for a couple of days. I'm like, geez, I wonder if we're making a mountain out of a molehill, or what's the big deal? You know, maybe there's a way, to the president's point, a way that we can address this, whether it's changing Exhibit E or the board granting the request, and that just puts us on a track for a public hearing, and we still have the burdens to prove everything and have that opportunity to go forward.
Discussion?
I guess I'll make it to the applicant. Just so we can clarify the language in Exhibit E, do you have a rare and extreme circumstance that may require an amendment to this request to be heard out of cycle?
I think it creates a hardship for the landowner. I mean, because I'm gonna go back to the landowner and say, well, I can't buy unentitled land for the price that they want.
And if I may just ask a quick question, is you have a deal with the landowner, a pending contract? And does that contract expire before September 15th of 2025?
It expires on April 30th of 2025.
So just to add to the answer, I mean, it's an interesting way that's phrased. I don't know that the rare and extreme circumstance is on us, but I think it's relevant. I think maybe looking back to 2009, again, the town usually had things come up once a year where they said, please just funnel them all. Maybe the rare and extreme circumstance is an opportunity before you for development that would benefit at least one town or village constituent's future land value. I think the point is that maybe you don't want to come to the point of some communities where they have them maybe every plan commission, like a rolling application cycle. But in this case, the rare and extreme circumstance is, okay, we missed the deadline by a month and we're showing we're ready, willing, and able to proceed. And that doesn't happen very often, and perhaps it's never happened because that's rare that we're asking for this relief.
I think if you want to add to that, I mean, it's, you know, we've made substantial effort to meet with staff multiple times. This comprehensive plan may be a bit rare in itself because we've made extra effort to cooperate with Osplick, who's the neighbor to this property, to help figure out how to accommodate you know, some of their future needs by getting them a little bit of land in the process so they can help resolve parking problems. I mean, there were multiple steps. Like I said, we've been here for multiple years. And if it was brought up in a meeting somewhere that we were supposed to submit by September 15th, I didn't write it down. I did notes from the meeting, so it was missed.
And that be that final conclusion of that sentence. That's our substantial justification. As I said, a mistake, we missed it. We're ready to proceed. We've duly filed the application fee, a complete application, and work with your consultant planner. So
I'll ask the applicant. My second question, you do deem this a rare and extreme circumstance. What is the substantial justification from the applicant?
I'd say those go hand in hand. I think it's a benefit to the owner of the land as a justification that they're allowed to sell the land that they desire to sell. I think it's a benefit in this case to Osplick because it allows us to move forward and plan that aids them in solving a parking problem that does affect the community. If you've been over by Osplick on race days or anything otherwise, they back up and down Mary Hill Road. I think it's a justification could be made that development and progress is generally a good thing. You've all seen the plan before, because I know I've been here with it. It's single family homes that our area desperately needs, that there's not enough of them. You know, and additional justifications if we don't take this up, you know, before September 15th of next year. It can't be built next year. You know, the building season here in Wisconsin, short. It's really kind of maybe April, but May through October, and that's about it. You know, so that completely gets missed.
So this has been going on for years. So why first now? Like comp plan amendment? I mean, I have stuff back in 2022 on this.
Yeah, we've been talking about this one for years.
Yeah,
Timing, that's all. I mean, we had the Meissners, as you know, own the land and we're developing Vista Run, which is in Sussex on the other side, and the progression is westward. So the timing is what drove it to happen now. And I assure you, had we known or been at least acknowledging of the September 15th date, we would have had this, had it in. It's
Did you read the staff? report? And they mentioned that they needed to do something with sewer tap, and I had some.
Yeah, let me address that too separately. Oren sent me a message today on that, and I strive to correct a misunderstanding that he has on how sewer pack and environmental corridors and the relationship with municipalities is. We did contract a couple years ago an environmental corridor delineation. He's very much aware of that. Everybody is. That environmental corridor delineation was done by an expert, environmental scientist. In preparing that document, he consulted with Sewer Pack, as is a routine part of the process. Chris George, who is part of that, is really the guy. I mean, there's only kind of one of them at Sewer Pack. And at the conclusion of that, they generally agreed that it was fine. Now, I think the misunderstanding is Orrin believes that a environmental corridor is something that gets concurred on like a delineation with Sewer Pack, and that's not the case. If Sewer Pack comes out and does an environmental corridor delineation, they certainly can. Then they have their own delineation. My argument here to Orrin is that's not how it's done, because for one, Sewer Pack can't possibly get to all the sites that need physical environmental corridor delineations. So they rely on these experts to do that. The experts prepare it, they consult with Sewer Pack, and then generally the municipality accepts that expert's opinion on the delineation. Because it's how it is commonly done, and I again reminded him in my message to Orrin that Sewer Pack's an advisory agency, not an approving agency, when it comes to environmental corridor delineations. The village here could disregard pretty much anything they say, but in practice, everybody kind of cooperates and tries to facilitate that process as best as possible. So long answer to a short question. Yes, I do believe we have fully complied and answered everything in regards to environmental corridors.
And I would just add that the hearing would not be until late January anyway, and I think you haven't even engaged with Orrin on that point yet. But for purposes of Exhibit E, I know it's not quoted in here, but Kathy, I can show you if you want. Exhibit E requires for this kind of application to submit the application, a scaled map, a mailing list of the property owners within 300 feet, and the fee established by the town. Application will not be accepted or considered complete unless all four of those items are submitted. Something like the Sewer Pack point would be what I would expect we can work through while we're waiting for the public hearing and working with staff. Yeah, we're aware of that, and I think we want to work with Orrin on that. But it's back to the applications before you, and we're looking to just keep it moving forward at a reasonable pace before we are out of contract again. We don't even have a project to propose. And I think to the question about why did we wait, my experience with representing landowners and clients, I noticed that the application does call for a rezoning and a comprehensive plan. A lot of times landowners don't want to change anything, starting even with the land map, the comprehensive plan, until the rezoning is ready to go, meaning the developer is ready to go. So probably it was just viewed as a package deal. Both of those check boxes are on our application. And it's also because you've been talking about it for the longest time. We're ready to go now, and it would be a hardship to wait until September, essentially pushing it to 2026.
Right, but I'm not telling you to wait. I said, why don't request a rule change?
Or a rule change. I mean, again, the board could find justification
rule
from the
change.
applicant and not change your rule. Maybe there's good reason to keep your rule. Or make a.
I don't think your client wants you arguing that. I want to speak for him.
It's always a possibility.
This is the way I feel on it. I totally respect the property owner, their ability to do what they want with their land. But it has to be within the rules, laws, procedures, governance of the town, village now. I also respect that we have an obligation to follow the published current rules, laws, ordinances. And unfortunately, in this one, it doesn't benefit your situation. Does that not mean we need to revisit the rule? But we can't revisit the rule and we can't handle your situation unless it complies with the two stipulations in here. So therefore, I think we would need to have a rule change before we can give any change to you, because I personally don't feel it's satisfied. The two things that are in the
If I can only ask a question.
yeah, you can wait till I'm done. That's what you can wait for. So I don't feel it's a rare and extreme circumstance that you guys decided to file after the deadline that's published. And I don't feel that a benefit to the owner, a benefit to Osblick is substantial justification. So I would not be in favor of going against the rule.
What, I guess I have to ask, what is a rare and extreme land use issue? I struggle to think of one that
It may not
meets this high
exist.
bar that you're
Maybe
talking.
it doesn't exist, but I mean, I can tell you this isn't it. It's, you know,
And then
not reading a code is not a rare
To suggest
thing.
we.
And I'm gonna tell you, and you have been in meetings where I have done this, there has been rules and codes in the village code, the town code, where it has benefited your developments, and I have told tons of people in a room the exact same thing I'm telling you right now. If you don't like the code of the rule, change the code of the rule. Don't ask me or the developer that they can't do something that's in there. I have argued that for Newman in plan commission meetings myself and said that to a whole packed room full of people at times who probably wanted to pitchfork me for saying it. So I'm just being consistent here with what I'm saying, and I agree with Mark. I'm not saying the code shouldn't be changed and the rules shouldn't be changed, but you can't ask us to go blatantly against something that's in there as it's written. And I don't think, I mean, how long would it take to propose a code and a rule change and get it done?
Or
Like, let's say they wanted to petition us to change this.
I believe that would require a comprehensive plan amendment, so that would be a multi-month process.
Okay, so it's a couple months.
Mhm.
Mhm. October is when this was put in, and we're almost a couple months down the road now. Yeah,
Process of changing it itself is a comprehensive plan amendment.
But, staff could work on. Staff could, review and see if it's possible to do a multi-step on the same night, so it could be public hearing for the text amendment as well as,
mhm.
as the.
I'd want Macy at the meeting for that too. I mean, just let's get his opinion on
Yeah.
things. Let's get,
That's what I'm
if
saying.
this is the way that the board decides to go. I think I'd want, I mean, Orin wasn't here to defend himself on certain things. Macy isn't here tonight.
So I mean, Macy and Orin and Dan and Lisa would sit down and go through
Mhm.
what the steps would be, set out a timeline and see how that could work. Could do that.
Could this, so I mean, this potentially could be in March if this all went through, if we know the process correctly and figure this out. You guys are talking in April. I mean, this could all run concurrently potentially, right? Okay. Becky, how do you feel?
I like that. I think if it's in the comprehensive plan, we have to follow it. That's what I think.
Paula?
Yeah, I think the rules do need to be followed, but I think it makes sense to definitely revisit the rule, because it's once a year doing this is just.
And that was when we were, and it was when we
Yeah.
were town, it was, the
Yeah.
county said, this is how this works. But we didn't change it.
Yep, no, I get that, yeah.
We were held to this for ever. I mean, this was, you're lucky you were a village, because we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. But, Linda?
I agree with what Mark had said and all of you. Do not just change it tonight. You need to study it and have Macy look at everything.
Is that something you'd be willing to bring forward?
Absolutely. I guess I'll look forward to talking to staff about what that process is of proposing a comprehensive plan amendment to change the paragraph of the amendment.
So, Mark.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
I know that they're having a meeting on the 18th or next week. Staff meeting, so.
I
We'll be
believe
there.
you guys are gonna be
Yep.
there for a different project too, so.
will.
Okay. At that point, I'd make a motion to table item A until the next village board meeting in January. Is there a second?
Second.
No discussion, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed, motion carries 5-1. Thanks. Item B, discussion necessary action regarding possible changes to expedite the approval of the process for public works or utility repair and replacement issues.
All right, so I haven't get back yet, request for consideration. We have, times when, the public work, I don't know, Mark, did you want to speak on this or?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the introduction. I guess to cut to the short of it, the problem we're finding is that the village board meets the second Wednesday, the Public Works Committee meets the third Wednesday immediately following the week after. So when we do find a problem, we essentially have to wait almost a month to get any kind of traction on it, which then delays actually getting the project rolling, so. We're, just the way the meetings are set up, we're just building in an artificial delay to solving problems that we could have expeditiously, taken care of. There are several steps and they're outlined in the staff rationale there. So the committee is essentially requesting the village board to approve, to have the committee have the authority to approve replacement items, repairs, or necessary work on the utility system up to $10,000. We feel $10,000 is a round ballpark number. As you can see, one of our lift station pumps came before us earlier today, and it was a matter of repairing it, which was half the cost, or replacing it for twice the cost. We decided to replace it. What that meant was we discussed it last month. And now almost a month later, it comes to the village board for an item that needs to be taken care of no matter what. But because it's a high value item, so be it, it's here. So we're just looking for the Public Works and Utility Committee to approve expenditures up to $10,000. One caveat that I would like to place in there is this requested action. I would like at least one town board member to be present at the meeting that requests $10,000, just for checks and balances.
You do a village board member?
What did I say?
Oh,
I keep looking at this town of
you
Lisbon.
are a quarter now too.
I do. I pay out 50 cents.
Mark, would that be in addition to the two board members who sit on?
No,
Public Works?
no. So I'm just saying, say that the chair or vice chair aren't at the meeting and they still have a quorum that can
okay,
take
got
place.
it.
I don't
So at
want,
least Board member present.
right, I want
Got it.
somebody on the
Official.
board to be the one giving the authority.
I agree, Mark.
I mean, it's gonna be a rare instance, but I think it's a rule that at least one elected official is speaking for $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that are of concern that you may not have mentioned is that when a pump goes down and we use our spare pump, we wait 2 months before we can even order the replacement pump. So if the other pump goes down, we are down.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense for the committee to be able to purchase immediately when there's the second item.
So. And let me further caveat that the board member would have to be in agreement to spend the $10,000. So if they oppose it, it doesn't meet the approval. That would be another
The
thing.
board member is
The sitting board member on the utility committee would
Yeah,
have to be in agreement to spend the $10,000. If that person opposes it, I would like a rule that says that it then has to then come to board.
board member is master veto power.
Yeah.
Okay. Paula, how do you feel?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, as long as there's like an audit or whatever at the end of the year, just, we'll be reporting on it at the meeting. Hey, we had to do this
It
because,
would come to the village board for post approval anyway, assuming.
Yeah, it would, I mean, that's more of an administrative thing, but there would definitely have to be a report of expenditure at the following village board.
I think it's common sense, good idea.
Becky?
No, I agree. I guess because this is all new, it wasn't never thought of, so I agree.
You good with it, Linda?
I'm good with it because we used to okay them all the time in our other, we used to do it. So I think it's a great idea, Mark.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to authorize the Public Works and Utility Committee to approve expenditures of up to $10,000 for projects related to sewer replacement equipment or any essential and time-sensitive sewer system work when at least one sitting village board member of the committee votes in affirmative to do so.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Linda. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Mr. Opitz? We granted you an extension to July 8th.
Through January.
January 8th.
January, not July, I got July to bring, January 8th.
And you must either be in compliance on that date or you must appear. All
Okay.
right?
Item C, discussion necessary action regarding draft donation agreement.
Okay, so we spoke about this sometimes, with the baseball diamond, we're going to, the junior chargers have offered us $40,000, toward that baseball, field. And they are requesting to have like a open drop. And so I've written this up, sent it to Attorney Macy. It's been reviewed by Attorney Macy, the changes that he suggested. But there were a couple of items that I wanted to make sure you understood, or then I could understand for this agreement. Are you okay with giving the junior chargers prior scheduling?
I am.
Yeah.
Everybody else?
Yeah,
I
what,
think so.
is there a time limit that we define priority?
Yeah, there'll be a deadline for that scheduling, and then anybody else can schedule.
Okay, I guess what I would hate to see is that there's no way that they can get trumped out of, say a non-junior charger books the field, they can't get trumped because now the junior charger wants it.
They have a time frame and when they have to get the scheduling in, and after that time frame, then it's any other days are open for anyone else to book, and then the first come first served that.
Okay.
There's no term limit or limit on the how long this priority access would be allowed. Do you have any problem with not having a limit?
The number of years you mean, or
Yeah, limit.
I'd actually might want to put
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the number of times per year.
I've got no term or limit, so.
So like for 10 years, they would have the priority
Right.
scheduling.
I would like to put a,
Year limit.
yeah,
You have a date time number of limits. Want to put a limit on the years?
Well,
don't
I
know
think
how
that,
many
I think-
games do they play?
yeah, I think we're thinking on two different scopes here. I think what you just said is quantity that they can book
I
under,
don't.
under priority.
I'm looking for the number of years that
Years,
they have
okay,
priority.
that's,
That they get the priority schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I thought of actually discussing both of that. Essentially, they could book every
Single night.
single night and nobody could ever book it after that. Did they say how many nights they're looking for?
That's pretty, I don't have that working, but he did just send me that this week. What their schedule was.
Do they have to pay to use the field?
Oh, yes, they still pay to use it.
So if they booked it every single night, they'd have to pay every single night.
Pretty generous donation.
Yeah,
So I think that requires some consideration.
if they didn't have to pay to use the field, I guess I'd feel one maybe a little different, but
And they all pay. for
you don't
it.
want to.
The same thing happens with Silva.
Sliva.
That they also kind of have priority because they get on the schedule first.
Would you be looking to put a limit on the number, or should maybe talk to and find out how many nights they would need it, and then
Well, yeah, I mean, if, when do they, I don't know what the field booking is, but if it's something super low, they could just book every night of the week for the entire.
Do you have their schedule, Kathy? You said they gave you a schedule?
Yeah, he sent me one.
or do you want to?
I mean, do they,
What do you think? The January.
I was gonna say, maybe just have some questions, is finding out how many nights a year they plan on doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Are we their practice field and their game field?
Yes.
So that'll be a lot.
which,
And they have
It's
more
okay.
than one team. So.
I'm gonna see if they've published their calendar yet.
are they affiliated with the high school, or I mean,
Nah,
with Templeton, or?
they're a club, they just use
Hmm.
similarity of name.
I have a quick question.
Scarlett,
Is there a charge when someone else uses it besides the donor? Like we
Yes.
charge when someone rents a, communities, a park or something. Is there a charge if somebody else wants to rent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where is that? I must have missed it in the agreement then.
Well,
in our code.
that's our code for park rental.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's all covered.
There's a reasonable usage thing in here. The donor agrees that its scheduling events will not exceed blank number of games in a calendar year. So it looks like that's in here right now.
Right, she put that in there. But do they then,
Well, that would.
what happens with a rainout then, and they have to reschedule it?
It looks like they'll have 3 or 4 home games a week. There's 20, each team has 20 games. 20 home games.
How many-
and They have 20 practices.
How many teams are there?
And it runs between April and June. I just don't know how many teams that are this age group that fits on this.
Yeah, that would be it.
What's the,
Would be a highly used field.
Good. Excellent. If you build it, they will come.
That's true.
So you have something in here already that says reasonable use, that 4C. Says the donor agrees that its scheduling events will not exceed X number of games in a calendar year.
That kind of eliminate possible limitation, if that's something you want to do.
Maybe if we could find out from them what they think would be a,
you remember which U teams were using this? Cause they have U 7, 8, 9.
Um,
Cause it looks like they have 3 teams at each division.
It's for the older kids. I want to,
this is got, yeah, this is the bigger,
yeah, this is the bigger fields, yeah.
it's the bigger diamond.
What do the age groups go up to, Mark?
U 7 through U 14.
I don't know, I can find out number of teams.
I didn't bring my park. Did
Did they, was this before the parks at all?
This,
I'll bring that
donation.
folder.
This, agreement.
This is all about money. It's just for you guys. So I could ask them about the number of teams. Looks like the number of games, home games. For 20. And the number of practices per team. Or 20, but we don't know. And I'll ask them the age group.
Right, and,
And it is April through July.
my question is, if they have a practice, can there be 2 things scheduled for the same day, or is it gonna be one event only? Like if it's practice from 3 to 5, can you have one from 5 to 7, or is this late in this, it's getting late?
As long as.
So I don't know how they have, I don't know. Well. Another discussion for another day.
I guess it'd just be estimated, estimated usage for the year. Is it gonna, I mean, basically, is this field just gonna be junior chargers, or is there a way that it could be available to other people if needed too?
Mhm.
Obviously, they're putting some money towards us, which we appreciate, but we're putting a lot more towards it.
So I haven't sent them this agreement, so I don't know if they've been getting, if we limited things, I don't know if they'd be in agreement. First.
Yeah, I mean, well,
If
you just-
there's anything that.
It could just be broaches. We're looking to see, is this field? I mean, because we are putting a lot of Lisbon
Yeah.
residents' money into it. It can't just be for one group of
Right,
people.
I agree.
So we want to make sure that this is, what their expectation of use is gonna be.
Did,
Just so we can understand. We can keep that positive.
does Mike do the scheduling for this?
Yes.
Or
We
does,
send- Yes, they would send to Mike their schedule for the year by whatever date. I think they make their,
and has Mike looked at this at all? I guess, and my request would be, I'm not ready to move on this tonight, but from now until the January meeting, why don't we have Mike look at this? I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't share this with the club. It's already public, being here
yeah,
tonight.
we can, I just wanted to get your feedback.
And then-
Wanted you to put some numbers in.
Why don't we just have, why don't we just have their rep come in like last time and maybe we could probably knock this out in one night.
So you want this back in January then?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of administrative discussion can be happening in the meantime and come to us.
Dan's gonna have to get up to speed for the January, I mean.
Yeah. He's probably watching YouTube tomorrow.
I'm gonna make a motion to table that to January then.
I make a motion, we table the draft donation agreement with the junior charters till January meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we get to item 10. Oh. We've had accomplished more in the last 5 years than I think this community has probably accomplished in its last 175. As far as moving forward on certain things, and I mean, I don't think that happens without your work, dedication, and it's, I got 4 months without you, but it's gonna be different, there's no doubt.
It was, the board allowed me to have the ability to make decisions, and I think it got done.
Put your mic on so Linda can hear you.
So I appreciate the board allowing me the, ability to gather my team to get that, incorporation done and, work, through with staff to get the other projects completed that we wanted to get done. Thank you.
And best wishes in retirement. Do the fun
Yeah,
stuff.
love
and-
this one.
Very good. Thank you.
Item 10 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? So
So
we'll just be here for a while.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
seconded.
Seconded by Mark. All in favor, say aye.
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 We're out at 7:41.
But I'm following.
I